Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience Podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions.
That's cool.
Exactly.
That's more user-friendly for sure.
Yeah. And I think that, like, for example, we live in Oceanside, California.
Mm-hmm.
Military gets paid on the 1st and the 15th.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you need to split your payments for me each month, okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? You sign a contract. So it's a real deal. It's a real business. And it's, so the sales part of it is a lot that I learned about.
Gotcha.
And, that's one of the reasons that, like, I run my training center solo.
Right.
Is that anyone that I have brought in here or wanted to bring in here, it's the same concept. They just want me to hand them people when it's like, I'm doing the marketing, I'm closing the sales, and you don't have the same passion and vision as me. These aren't, it's not that easy. So, I don't see people as dollar signs. I get personally, involved in their lives and emotionally, physically, all of those things. And so they stick around for a long time.
Right.
And, I can't have someone come in and work for me for 2 months and then bail. Cause then guess what? I don't have time to train that person, and meet, so I'm a one-woman show. And
it's a disruption too, right? It's a disruption to the client's life, but it's also a disruption to your business and what you're trying to do in terms of managing time and all the other things you're doing. I mean, you've written 11 books, you have an app, you have, you've got some stuff going on, right? You've got an addiction recovery center. I mean, you've got a lot happening, right?
Right.
Plate spinning, so to speak. So you're 26 years old, you sign a year lease. How scary was that?
I mean, I had a grand opening and I had a few people sign up at it, and it's scary. Like, you don't make money at first. You're and you have to wonder, like, how long is that going to be for? How many days am I going to sit here and hope that someone walks to that door, and how many times am I going to clean the floor waiting around for them to do that?
Right.
Or so I I didn't have all the funds in the world to dump into it either. So one of the things is that I always walk hills with my clients. So we get a little warm up, we go outside and do. And so where my studio at was before, there's all these hills around there. And so clients would say, well, how did you find all these hills? Like, I didn't even know these existed. Because I took my butt around Fire Mountain, Crouch, everywhere local. And for 3 days straight, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., I put a flyer on every person's door. And that's how I was going to do it. I couldn't afford the, like, door-to-door, mail thing through the system. So I just walked, and I was sunburnt and I was tired. And I was like, this is what I got to do. And, it took a while to find my niche at first, because I was doing a lot of things of the same sort of nature that I would learn from 24-hour fitness, the same types of classes, Zumba, spin, etc. And it just kind of flourished into a small group where we do strength training. That it's like that I created it, that I choreographed it, that I'm doing it, because what I find is that my population is more on the medical fitness, middle-aged, older adults. That's who I think that has a lot to do with the fact that I had to grow up quick. I just relate to older people better. And so for me, it's not doing like plyometrics and boot camp and things that maybe are fads. It's like, it is literally lifestyle change, sustainable, that you come here and look forward to, coming here. And it's not doing it as fast as you can, as many as you can. It's the consistency that's the key. And so that's what I found worked best for me. And So then I have my small group classes and I have my private one-on-one training. And, some people do just one, some people do or the other, or some people do a combo thereof. So that's how that came to be. And then over time I grew, and, it's gone better than I could ever expect it. God really blessed me.
How did the addiction center come about?
Okay. Yes. We need to circle back to that. So we talked about coming back from college,
Mhm.
videoing,
Mhm.
figuring out life, um, waiting for law school applications to come back in and see if I got in, and just, what am I going to be when I grow up, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And in that time period, my mother, from about the time that I was in 6th grade,
Mhm.
she became an alcoholic,
Hmm.
and she really struggled. She became powerless to the disease. And one by one, it stole things from her life. And both my parents were special education teachers, and she was a special education teacher. And eventually she had to leave because she couldn't sustain the job anymore. And the principal was kind enough to let her go on medical leave. And she retired with a different, package so that she could go to rehab. And she worked various rehabilitation centers that, she'd always go away to like Orange County or somewhere, 30, 90 days, whatever it is. And she would come back, and, for like 2 or 3 weeks, it'd be like, yes, I got my mom back. But then as soon as you're able to feel again, and your guilt of things that you've done, and just, all of it sets back in, she would hit the bottle again. And it was just a vicious cycle for her.
Wow.
So a lot of people were very unaware of that when I was growing up. It was sort of an unspoken um, hush hush. I think that a lot of people knew, when she'd come to my games or pick me up from practice, and, are you sure you're going to be okay? Yeah, I'm be all right, or like a coach would, back in the day when your coach gave you a ride home. I would just say, it's probably better if you just took me home, because we're going to be waiting here a long time. And
Wow.
I knew she wasn't going to come.
Yeah.
We were late to school all the time, me and my dad. And I mean, the people at the front desk I'm like still friends with today, they knew, and
Mhm.
they'd write me a pass to class. There's nothing I could do about it. We'd go to Tri-City till 2 o'clock in the morning and check her in, check her out, and then get up and go to school the next day. And, uh, she went to AA meetings at Thibodeau and Vista. That was her home meeting place.
Mhm.
And, I'm still friends with her sponsor today. I have clients who have the same sponsor as her. It's crazy how God works all of these things.
Mhm.
And when I was working as a paralegal, I came home on my lunch break because I lived with Carl, like off of College Boulevard. We had a bunch of roommates and had a house. And but my parents' house was only, 5-10 minutes away from where I was working. So I'd go home, like a 20-year-old something does, and take all their food at lunchtime and eat. And it was summertime, it was August, and my dad was sitting in the living room reading the paper. He was off school, and I said, hey dad, how's mom doing? And he's like, oh no, you can go check on her. And their master bedroom was upstairs. And my best friend called me from Colorado. I answered the phone, I started talking to her, and I just felt weird. I felt really weird, and I felt cold. And I looked in the mirror, and it was like my lips were like turning a little bit purple. And I said to her, I feel sick. I gotta go. I'll call you back later. And that's when I went upstairs, and there she was lying there.
Mm.
And, she would go on these benders, and a lot of times she'd fall, and she fell and hit her head. And, I ran downstairs, screamed to my dad, she's not breathing, she's not breathing. And then called 911. My dad's giving her CPR, and it was too late. And so when you talk about someone that I'm close to, those experiences with my dad have certainly bonded us. My brother is 5 years older and my sister is 7 years older. So I was in middle school, which meant that they had already moved out of the house when she
Yeah.
became an alcoholic.
Yeah.
So our experiences were very different in our relationships with her. Um, I had a hard time with it. I hated her.
Mhm.
You know, I didn't understand how I was, runner-up salutatorian for valedictorian at El Camino High School, and she couldn't even make it to my high school graduation. She couldn't get out of bed, stuff like that. I was very bitter. I
Yeah.
didn't understand. I felt like she was jealous of me.
Mhm.
I felt like I was at my peak and she was at her lowest.
Mhm.
We said a lot of mean things to each other. When she would want to ride to AA, I'd be like, "Go get a taxi. I'm not doing that." I was long before Uber. And I've worked through all of that, of course, mental health wise, and I understand that it's a disease. I understand that it took over the person that she was.
Mhm.
Um, Now I got like all of her best traits and qualities. So I have, I'm thankful for that. She was ambitious. She was like a Barbie doll. She was a world champion baton twirler.
Mhm.
She was educated and she helped people. I mean, that was the thing. I mean, when she had her service at Eternal Hills, I mean, it was standing room only. People
Mhm.
couldn't, she helped change so many people's lives, and that's kind of where I get all of that from.
Yeah.
So now with the treatment center, so we gotta get in, figure out where we're at here. Okay, so I'm working at my studio,
Mhm.
and years into it, I decide that I want to go back to school and get my doctorate.
Mhm.
And so my research focus, so I have my doctorate now in health and human performance. So my research focused on the influence of exercise on alcohol use disorder,
Okay.
substance abuse. So how exercise can be medicine and help someone as a tool during their recovery.
Right. That's a real
I
thing.
feel it's a real thing.
Yeah.
And it's all true and powerful, research backed. And I can remember, you know, my mom had a trainer at 24 Hour Fitness, and I remember like one day I ran into her there. It was so bizarre. And it's like she couldn't even exercise because she was just like her heart rate would get too high because of, her drinking and so forth. But
Mhm.
the point is that I feel like if she had an outlet, if there was something that she could have done, um, such as exercise, it could have been a helpful tool for her. But in general, it helps everyone. And so that's what I did my research on. And I did a qualitative study. So I had 11 participants that I interviewed. And, uh, that was a really difficult experience. But I'm really grateful because Elsevier, which is a academic publishing company, used my book it's actually a textbook now used in psychology classes. So I guess my research had some merit to it. And when I had to defend my dissertation, that is something that someone on the panel said. I mean, she cried and she said, the world needs to hear what you have to say. And so it was really great, that all coming to fruition. So I'm really grateful for that. Um, so what happened was, uh, my financial advisor had said, okay, now's a good time to maybe look into, investing your money, and let's turn it into something, grow it, as I always say. And so I was like, okay, well, I don't like house stuff. I don't want to have a rental. I don't want to do any of that. And so I kind of I was like, how can I make myself like having like a Airbnb or whatever, or AUD, whatever. And so I just Googled like how to start a sober living, because I thought, okay, maybe that's something that, I know a lot about that. And
You have a passion for it.
there's this site, which maybe you've heard of, like the BizBuy site, and you
Mhm.
can buy
Yeah.
other businesses.
Mhm.
And just an ad popped up, and it was for a treatment center called Mindful Rejuvenation.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I click on it, and it's like right here in Oceanside. It said it was 5 minutes away from where I'm at. And I'm like, whoa. So look into it. And, I called, never called me back. I called, I wrote an email. And so finally the director calls me back, Jacqueline, who you had some emails with. And she said, well, I've had over 200 applicants, so I'm sorry I didn't get back to you, but your email, it kind of struck me. So I'd like to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. And it was a Monday, and she only works 1 day a week in the office because she lives in Temecula, so she works remote. So I was like, well, I can't leave work right now. So I call my financial advisor, and he's like, well, I'll go meet her. And he met her that same day. And it happened. So I bought the treatment center, and I rebranded it to Mindful Bodies Recovery. So it's behavioral outpatient discovering yourself. And it offers, we have PHP, IOP, outpatient. So all of those are terms for what type of treatment you're going to receive. So you could either come 3 hours a day, 6 hours a day. You can do telehealth. I have a behavioral therapist on staff, 2 psychiatrists, a group facilitator, case manager. So it's like the real deal.
So real quick, what's PHP and IHP for people that don't know?
So it's either partial hospitalization or inpatient or outpatient.
Okay.
So partial hospitalization, meaning like the time that you spend here.
Gotcha.
So it's not residential. It does not mean that you would not stay here overnight.
You don't live there.
You don't live there. So
Right.
Oftentimes, if you're in a sober living, it could be a place that you go. And one of the things is, if my mom had a place like this, I think it would have been key. There was nothing around North County. She'd always have to go away. And and then they'd have like family day, and we'd have to drive 2 hours to go. It didn't work.
Yeah.
It was taking her out of her environment. I mean, you got to learn how to function in your environment with your disease.
No kidding.
And it's like, you don't just get to go away and then come back and think that it doesn't work that way.
Because you come back and you plug back into the environment you're in before that caused all this.
You can be in a bubble that takes everything away. But as soon as you come back, it's not, that's not reality.
Especially if you don't have the skills to deal with it,
Absolutely. So that was one of the key determinants for me when I wanted to do this, was like, wow, this is something that it's very special.
Yeah.
And so it's right here on Pierview Way. I'm on the same street as Oceanside Pier. I was proposed to on that pier. I renewed my 10-year vows on that pier. So a lot of emotion, connection to that. And so that transpired about like September, October of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now I had my fitness studio off of Oceanside Boulevard for 12 years. And kid you not, there's a Pilates studio right next to the treatment center. She didn't renew her lease. And it was like, wow, I need to move my studio to that Pilates center.
This might work.
God, what are you telling me?
Right. Next door to each other. This is cool.
I did it. And I was really concerned about losing clients. Like I did not tell my clients until like 2 weeks before I was going to move. Because I was just like, this is just going to happen. Either you're with me or you're not.
Yeah.
And I stood in front of all my classes and told my one-on-ones, and they're like, all right, what's the address? I did not lose one single client. They all came. It's only like 2 more minutes away, and it's like such an upgrade.
But it's your passion.
I was just worried about, like the people in Fire Mountain, where I was like 1 minute away from them. Like, are they gonna? And of course they did.
Yeah.
And so I did that. So I've been here ever since. It's been incredible. My business has flourished here. And I even have a mural on my wall here that I got painted and approved by the city. So I'm trendy like that now. It has pugs and butterflies on it.
Oh.
So the goal right now is to continue to thrive with my fitness business and to help grow and develop the treatment center, and to make it in a place where, one day, I would like to own this building myself. So I have some long-term goals within it. Investing is scary.
Mm-hmm.
Turning a profit is scary, but I've been here before. So right now, I mean, we do need patients, and there are plenty of them out there.
Yes,
So
sir.
we take.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.